Is this controversial? Absolutely. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, I don't mean not at all. What I mean is Zavala shouldn't be the central figure. He shouldn't be the emotional anchor. And he definitely shouldn't be carrying the weight of another saga. Since the end of Final Shape, Zavala hasn't needed to do anything. His story reached its natural conclusion. And if Destiny 3 ever becomes real, that moment, right there, is the perfect time to let the man rest. Give him his farm, give him peace, and let Destiny finally move forward. The Vanguard needs new leadership. And honestly, do we need another 5 years of Destiny with the same faces sitting at the top? Zavala, Ikora, Crow. Out of all three, I can clearly see Crow carrying forward into a sequel. He represents the next generation of Guardians, someone shaped by the past, but not really defined by it. Ikora, that depends on entirely where the 9 saga goes, and if her role evolves beyond the Vanguard, into something more cosmetic like Lodi, or away from her roles and duties, more detached, then her presence still makes sense. But Zavala doesn't. Not as a leader, not as the voice of authority, and definitely not as the figurehead of another era of Destiny. For Destiny 3 to truly work, there needs to be a genuine shake-up. Not just in systems or locations, but in the power structures of the world too, which leads to a bigger question. Should the Vanguard as we know it even exist in Destiny 3? Mechanically, what does the Vanguard do anymore? In practice, they are genuinely glorified vendors. Zavala occasionally hands out free god rolls thanks to the new portal systems. Ikora exists almost entirely to onboard new lights, and Crow doesn't really do anything at all. Ironically, the most useful vendor in Destiny right now is a character intentionally designed to be transcendent, strange, and completely disconnected from authority or power. That contrast matters. Like promotional plug right now, I am doing Xur Infantry videos, not exactly the usual Xur Infantry videos you see all over Destiny YouTube, but more my own new exotic creations that you could see in the Destiny universe. So if you haven't already, please check out them videos below, and back to now the recorded content. Because when your core leadership figures function primarily as menu screens, and when they do appear in story beats, they're routinely outshined by other characters. Their importance starts to feel inherited, not made. The earliest narrative path for Destiny 3 would be simply to destroy the Vanguard, making up an inciting incident. You blow up everything, start the story with loss and rebuild there. The sad part about it, it would echo the moments like the destruction from the original tower, and if they chose that route, you need to have casualties this time. And that kind of heavy opening works. Death and destructions are familiar tools in games, films, TV, because they immediately raise the stakes. But that's not exactly why killing Zavala outright would feel hollow. Not because it would be shocking, but because it would be very predictable. And Destiny at this point needs more evolution than more spectacle. I am working on what I believe Destiny 3's actual story should be, and that project will come in time. But before we even get there, there's another elephant in the room when it comes to Zavala, and that's the change in voice direction. For years, Zavala was voiced by the late Lance Reddick, and it's impossible to overstate how iconic that performance actually was. His voice was Zavala. Calm, resolute, restrained, it became part of Destiny's identity. Let me be very clear, this is not criticism of Keith David. He's an incredible actor, and stepping into that role under those circumstances was no small task. He handled it with professionalism and respect, but even so, it doesn't quite feel right. Hearing a different voice come from the most recognisable figure in Destiny feels like it's wearing the right shoe on the wrong foot. Everything technically fits, but something is always slightly off. And that disconnect was amplified by timing. Keith David had to step into the role at the most emotionally crucial point of the light and dark saga. Zavala was written to be frustrated, impatient, emotionally strange, which makes sense narratively, but the voice had changed. I couldn't fully separate the performance from the absence of the original. For me, that created the kind of narrative dissonance, but not because the performance was bad, but because it reminded me consistently that this chapter of Zavala's story was already coming to an end. And that's another reason why Destiny 3 feels like the right moment to let the character rest. You need to not erase him, you can't disrespect him, but you can complete him. By letting the character rest, you preserve that impact. You can bring them back when it truly matters, without that constant immersion breaking presence that comes from overuse and different voice acting. Forgetting a character for a season or even an entire expansion, then reintroducing them for a genuinely meaningful moment hits harder than keeping them around out of habit. We've already seen this work. Look at Cade. His return in Final Shape wasn't just a story beat, it was a narrative tool. That absence made the nostalgia hit harder. It reminded players why they cared in the first place. You loaded it up, you saw him, you felt things. That's the power of restraint. And Destiny would benefit enormously from applying that same philosophy to its most iconic characters. Yes, Cade was dead, but let's be honest, we are living in a comic book level universe where almost anyone can come back if the story really wants it. That doesn't mean every loss needs to be undone. And let's just be absolutely clear, no, I do not want Amanda Holliday to come back in Destiny 3 as a Guardian. So when I say Zavala shouldn't be in Destiny 3, I don't mean erased, I don't mean disrespected, and I definitely don't mean forgotten. I mean complete. Zavala's story has earned its ending. He's been the backbone of Destiny for over a decade. That's exactly why dragging him into another saga, another crisis, another reset risk diminishing what made him special in the first place. Destiny 3 needs space to breathe. It needs new leadership, new perspectives, new power structures that reflect a universe that has finally moved on from the light versus dark and into something more menacing. That doesn't happen if we keep anchoring ourselves to the same faces out of comfort or fear of change. Let Zavala rest, let the Vanguard evolve or even dissolve. Let Destiny tell a new kind of story. Because when characters are allowed to step away, they don't lose their importance, they gain it. And if Destiny ever brings Zavala back properly from years from now, for a moment that truly matters, hell, let it be when he's raining fire in Torabato to rescue Catel from impending doom. Now that return would mean something. Do you believe Zavala should be in Destiny 3's story? Let me know below. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your morning, your afternoon, and your evening, and I'll talk to you next time.